Hi everyone, it's me. So today I have been listening to a podcast I really enjoy called Work Life with Adam Grant, and he is an author of a book called The Originals, which was really, really good too. And I listened to his first season when he came out with the podcast, and it was, I think, not that long after I started teaching my college class. And I think it may have been my first semester. And he had a really good episode, and I recommended it to some of the students, but I don't really know if anybody listened to it, but I basically sort of really liked his perspective and how he did things, and I thought, but I forgot about it. This happens to me a lot. There's a lot of ideas that go on in this head, and I don't think I'm alone in that, but as I started this semester and I think about the upcoming semesters and how I want to keep changing my college class to be more relevant and less textbook based and bringing in really dynamic voices, I started listening, kind of binge listening to his podcast. And he had an episode on loneliness. And this wasn't the first time that I heard some interesting information about loneliness. And I highly recommend Work Life by Adam Grant as a podcast. The loneliness episode was really interesting. And, he was talking about this aspect of facilitating, even just in his class, but also in other experiments where they facilitated even just 1 minute of quality connection. They basically said it could boil down to 40 seconds of quality connection can make such a difference. And what does that look like when, if you're not going into your workplace anymore? What does that look like if your kids are distance learning? What does that look like if you're watching church through Facebook? And these are all good questions, but I hope, that at least a lot of families wind up having a core group of people in their home, and 40 seconds of quality connection is something that where a person feels seen, not just the chit chat, not just the basics, but something that really makes them feel seen. That will make the difference. And this brought up something I had read in the past, and I love Brene Brown. I think I've mentioned that a couple of times, but she has a book called Dare to Lead, and Dare to Lead is cool because it kind of takes all of the stuff she's written in her other books and applies it to leadership. And so in this case, she had given an example of a woman in the military who, I don't remember what her title was, but she had, I think, 33,000 men under her. And she was speaking, and they were talking about, when is the ops tempo going to let up? And, they were saying they were exhausted. And as a leader, who's keeping herself learning, she had just 3 days prior read an article in the Harvard Business Review, which had talked about that sometimes, and frequently, I guess, that exhaustion is really just a sign of loneliness, and that we are living in, and this was pre-pandemic, living in lonely times, people starving for real connection. And for me, this is something that I've noticed. Another one of his podcast episodes was talking about strengths, and I tried to think about I think I kind of have a strength for wanting to facilitate connection between people. I think it's something I look to do pretty much everywhere I go. And so when I hear these things, that people can be exhausted from the lack of connection, they can be only needing, one quality relationship at work. And so I think about my college class, one quality relationship. And that can't be me. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not trying to facilitate a quality connection between me and my students, but I work really hard to facilitate connection between them between each other, peer to peer, because it makes a difference. People they need to feel that they belong somewhere. And I want each of my college students to feel that they belong in my class and that they belong in their team and that people notice them and value them. And so when it comes to the other work I do and the create your own school community that I'm building, it is with the goal of creating a very deep sense of belonging, a place where peer to peer, you show up and your peers show up and you're there to see each other and you're there to see where you are in the journey that you are embarking on, where you are in trying to manage the transition between I was just a parent who had my kids go to school, or I was a parent raising these kids, and now I'm going to be a learning facilitator as well. How can I help you? How can we support you? And how can we make sure you don't get lonely in that journey? That is what I'm working on. So I look forward to continuing to talk to you, and I look forward to connecting with you and connecting you to each other. And so for tonight, I'm going to say goodbye and see you tomorrow.